People often say that the law of unintended consequences is the only rule in history that never gets canceled, and right now, we are seeing this law cause big problems not far away in some foreign capital city, but right here in the busy industrial areas of the American Pacific Northwest. Look at the Seattle skyline today. You see shiny glass buildings shaped like spheres, tall construction cranes, and huge structures built for tech growth that seemed like they would last forever. Amazon's headquarters stands out, big and strong, and this company has become a symbol of American shopping, new ideas, and everyday ease. But things are not always what they seem, and even though the buildings are still there, something important is quietly moving. The heart of Amazon's operations is shifting about 500 miles north, and we are watching one of the biggest company changes in recent times. This move happens without trucks hauling furniture or for sale signs on buildings. It takes place on computer spreadsheets, in shipping plans, and in smart decisions by a company that now thinks the United States is no longer a safe place for its future work. JR. You might think this is just another boring business story about taxes and profits that doesn't affect regular people, but that would be wrong. This is really a lesson about what happens when angry politics becomes more important than steady business. And it shows how a rule meant to hurt a certain company and a nearby country ended up hurting the exact American workers it was supposed to help. What is happening is called the Amazon realignment. Amazon is moving its main logistics system, the network that handles packages, from Washington State in the U.S. to British Columbia in Canada, from the United States to Canada. The big reason for this huge change was not a failing market or a natural disaster, it was a simple fee. The Trump administration put a $15 border processing fee on every package coming into the United States from Canada. Let us be clear about what really happened. On the outside, the government called it a new customs rule for national security and fair trade, and they added a $50 extra charge to every parcel crossing from Canada. The words they used sounded familiar, putting America first, stopping other countries from taking advantage, and standing up for our rights, but the real target was very specific. Just see. This rule was built carefully to mess up Amazon's way of doing business across the border, and it was basically a weapon aimed straight at a company the former president disliked a lot for personal and political reasons. The people in the White House thought it was simple. The U.S. is the most important market, so if we make crossing the border expensive, companies will have to move their work inside our country, hire American workers, build here, and pay taxes here. That was their plan. But in real life, unlike at political speeches, the other side gets to respond, and Canada did not just complain. They acted with smart, organized skill that America used to be known for. Instead of giving in, Amazon looked at the situation carefully. They saw a U.S. government that changes rules suddenly to get even with people they don't like, and they saw a tax system that looks low on paper but comes with huge risks because anything can change tomorrow. Then they looked north to Canada, and they found a Canadian government led by smart experts who saw a great chance. They did not just open the door, they built a whole system of steady rules, clear plans, and fast shipping help. So now Amazon is not moving jobs back to the U.S. to escape the fee. Instead, they are moving their whole package handling network to Canada to avoid the messy politics in America. Just so. They decided it is actually cheaper and safer to send packages from Vancouver to Seattle, even with the extra distance, than to keep dealing with unpredictable rules in the U.S., where laws can change on a whim. This matters a lot because steady systems matter. You count on things around you being predictable, and you expect that if you follow the rules today, those rules won't suddenly disappear because someone powerful had a bad day. When that trust breaks down, when government starts using rules to attack enemies instead of helping everyone grow, money moves, and capital runs away to find a safer place. And right now, sadly, that safer place is just across the border in Canada. To really understand this, we need to look at the bigger picture of how things got set up before this big move happened. For almost 100 years, the United States offered the world something special. We were not just a huge market, we were a trustworthy one. Our courts respected contracts, our rules, even when strict made sense and could be understood, and companies knew what to expect. This steady feeling was the hidden foundation that held up the whole economy. Just see. It is why, even with cheaper workers in places like Mexico or China, the most important, complicated work stayed here. But lately, a harmful idea has grown in our politics, that government power should reward friends and punish enemies. This is not really a conservative or liberal idea in the old way. It is an old-fashioned idea from kings and lords, not from a modern country built on business. The Trump team's strong focus on Amazon is no secret, and there were threats about breaking up the company, complaints about mail delivery, and loud public attacks on its leaders. But the $15 border fee was a big step up. It turned words into real action, and it tried to use the border like a tight squeeze to hurt the company. By adding $15 to every package cost, they basically wiped out profits on millions of normal items. They thought Amazon would have no choice but to move its Canadian warehouses, which serve both countries, into the United States to skip the fee. It was a strong push, but pushing only works if you are the only choice, and we are learning now that the United States is not the only choice anymore. Just see. Think about what this does to your trust in our country. We are used to seeing America as the leader in the world economy. We make the rules. We start the trends. But now, a huge American company is basically asking Canada for protection for its work, and they are picking Canadian rules over American ones, not because they hate America, but because they need a partner they can trust. When you vote and pay taxes, you help keep our country strong and serious, and a serious country does not start fights with its own big companies. A serious country does not break its own supply chains just to win political points, yet here we are. Now let's look closely at how this happened, because the real problem is not just the idea, it's about who does it better. While Washington leaders tweeted about tariffs and demanded loyalty, Canadian officials quietly studied the small details of trade laws. The $15 border fee was like swinging a big hammer with lots of energy but not much aim. It was meant to make math for cross-border shipping impossible. If Amazon used to spend $3 to ship a package from British Columbia to Oregon, the new fee made it cost $18. And in the tiny profit world of retail, $18 extra is not a small tax. It's basically a ban. The plan was to force Amazon to give in, but here's where things flipped because of smart planning. Just while the White House cheered its tough stance, Canadian leaders, guided by the very clever Mark Carney, built a smart way around the problem. Carney knows how global money moves better than almost anyone in North America, and he saw that Amazon's weak spot was also its biggest need: predictability. He did not just give a tax break, though he did that too. He offered a whole new system for moving goods. The deal was brilliant. First, zero taxes on fulfillment work for 10 full years, a promise locked in by national law, safe from changing elections. In the U.S., tax rules can flip whenever a new committee leader wants. In Canada, they offered a real contract. Second, building big warehouses in Seattle or San Francisco can take 2 years because of environmental checks, local hearings, and court fights. Carney promised fast approvals, down to just 6 months, and he turned red tape into a welcome mat. But the real genius move, the one that really broke the U.S. tariff plan, was in customs rules. Canada set up special freight trains connecting Vancouver's port straight to the new Amazon sites, paid for by the province, and even more important, they created a pre-clearance system. Just see. They used old trade agreements made long ago with U.S. help that the Trump team forgot to cancel in their rush, and these agreements let packages be treated as already in the U.S. market by the time they cross the border, so no $15 fee. This is what happens when one side plays smart chess and the other plays simple checkers. The U.S. used raw border power. Canada used clever legal moves. The result: Amazon can now run more smoothly from another country than from the country that started it. We have to stop and think about the leaders involved, because this is about different ways of thinking. On one side is the Trump way: treat business rules like quick attacks to force people to obey. The goal is to make others give up. The method is threats, and the belief is that America is so strong it can just order business to change direction. On the other side is the Carney way: understand that money is shy. It runs from loud fights and goes toward quiet safety. He knew he did not need cheaper workers. Canadian pay is about the same, and he did not need nicer weather. He just needed certainty. For a company like Amazon, the most costly thing is not gas or workers, it's risk. And by taking away political risk and promising today's rules will stay tomorrow, Carney made Canada the easy choice. Just see. Amazon, being a smart business that wants to save money, took that choice. This should worry you, as it means America is starting to lose at the basic game of good government, We are not losing jobs because our workers are lazy or our machines are old. We are losing them because our politics has become a problem. When a company chooses to ship things 300 extra miles across a border rather than deal with the U.S. government, that is a loud message of no trust, louder than any poll. Now, think about the real people in this story. While the people who planned this trade fight sit safely in Washington, the effects hit neighborhoods like Kent, Washington. Imagine a man named David. He is 42, and for the last 8 years he worked in one of Amazon's huge warehouses south of Seattle. The job is not fancy, but it supports his family. It pays $20 something an hour, gives good benefits, and has steady hours so he can coach his daughter's soccer team. For David, Amazon was not about politics. It was about paying his house loan, and it was the security that let him plan for tomorrow. Jai.R. But 6 months ago, fewer trucks came. Parts of the warehouse that used to be busy and noisy went quiet. Managers started cutting hours slowly, and then a memo came about restructuring and network optimization. Everyone knows those words really mean things are getting smaller. David does not know the details of trade laws. He does not know about Mark Carney's train deals, but he knows his extra hours are gone. His monthly pay is down almost $400, and the busy energy in his workplace has moved somewhere he cannot follow. While David watches his job fade, look across the border in Surrey, British Columbia. There, a 31-year-old woman named Jasmine just started the same job at a new Amazon facility. She handles the same packages, but she is in a growing place while David is in a shrinking one. She earns $28 Canadian an hour. She gets full health care from the government, so her company and family do not have to worry about those costs. And she is part of a big hiring wave that fills new apartments, supports new daycares, and wakes up a community that sees Amazon as a helpful friend, not an enemy. The sad part is not that Jasmine is doing well, it is that David is suffering for no real reason. Jasu. He is hurt by a trade war that was supposed to protect him, and he is the one who gets hit when people throw stones at the big machine of business. And it keeps spreading. In the world of shopping, Amazon is not just one player, it is the leader everyone watches. Once the biggest online store ever showed that working in Canada makes more sense than in the US, other big stores started doing the same math and reached the same answer. Walmart quietly plans 2 huge distribution centers in Ontario, right along the important highway from Toronto to Montreal. Target, which failed badly trying to sell in Canada years ago, is coming back, but this time to build warehouses that serve American customers using Canada as a smart base. Shopify, the Canadian company that helps online stores, is growing fast, hiring thousands of tech people who might have gone to Silicon Valley or Seattle before. Even smaller companies you may not know are moving their storage north because the numbers do not lie. This is the part that should really scare anyone who cares about America's economy for the long run. Jasan. We often think of these big warehouses as simple boxes full of boxes, just basic places to keep stuff, but that idea is old and dangerous now. In today's world, these places are the control centers for retail. They are not just about moving packages. They are about information and smart systems. When you move the physical warehouses, you also move the computers and brains that run them. The programs that plan the fastest delivery routes are now getting better in Vancouver. New data centers that handle millions of orders every second are being built near Toronto, and the money teams that manage payments across borders are moving to Montreal. The buildings and the technology cannot be separated. You cannot send the workers away and keep the smart thinking at home. When warehouses leave, the tech support engineers and managers follow. We are not just sending away regular jobs, we are sending away the whole system of skills around them. This brings us back to your daily life. You have probably noticed that 2-day delivery is now more of a hope than a promise. Ja-R. You see more out-of-stock messages, prices on everyday items go up in ways that do not match normal price increases, and what you feel is the cost of extra trouble. That extra day your package waits is because it crosses a border it did not need to cross. That extra dollar on the price is not just companies being greedy, it is the price of dealing with a government that makes buying harder. We are paying more so our own leaders can make things difficult, but let's look even bigger. For the last 70 years, the United States was the automatic choice for business. We were the center of world trade, not just because we had money, but because we were steady and boringly reliable. We had great ports, roads, trains, and fair courts, and companies built long plans assuming America was the safest place to put money. The Trump team, in a burst of angry populism, broke that trust. When you put a $15 fee on packages from your closest friend country, when you treat trade like a TV fight, you do not show strength. You show you are unpredictable, and nothing scares business more than unpredictability. Jasan. You are telling every company leader around the world that the U.S. will hurt its own economy for quick political wins. Once that idea spreads, companies start to protect themselves. They build backup plans. They look for safety nets. Canada has become that safety net, not because Canada is bigger, richer, or more creative, but just because Canada acts grown up. Mark Carney and Canadian leaders know that when the big American neighbor acts wild, being calm and steady is the best thing to sell. They are selling boring, reliable government, and business is buying it fast. Now think about the extra effects that might hurt even more than losing warehouse jobs. When a big logistics center moves, the local area slowly starts to struggle. First, the direct jobs go away, forklift drivers, packers, then nearby businesses start to hurt. Builders who hoped for new work have nothing. Mechanics who fix delivery trucks have empty garages, restaurants, and gas stations that serve the workers close. Eventually, it hits the basics. Local taxes. Fewer jobs mean houses lose value, and lower house values mean less money for schools, roads, libraries, and police. Jiasen. This is the slow, downward spiral towns can fall into, and we are seeing the early signs in parts of Washington state right now. Seattle, a city that let itself become too tied to one big company, is learning how dangerous that can be. Amazon is not leaving completely, the headquarters stays for now, but the main working part is moving, and a body cannot live long without its heart, no matter how big the head is. This whole story shows a deep mistake about power today. The former president thought American strength was unlimited. He believed we could force Amazon, Canada, or the market to do what we want because they had no other choice. But in our connected world, there is always another choice. Amazon is not loyal to the American flag. It is loyal to its owners and to being efficient. If the U.S. makes itself hard to work in, Amazon will not cry. It will just go. It is a painful twist that the America First plan has created an America Second situation for shipping and shopping. Jasan. We told Canada to bow down. Instead, they just opened their doors wider. Now we wonder why the busy energy that used to fill our Pacific Northwest is flowing away, leaving empty truck docks and confused, upset people. The change goes even further into things most people are not thinking about yet, where new ideas come from. We usually think moving boxes is separate from inventing better ways to move them, but for Amazon, they are connected. Amazon does not just deliver packages. It creates new robots, smart computer programs, delivery drones, and better systems. In the past, that inventing happened in the U.S. because the real testing happened here, but when the main work moves to Canada, the inventing moves too. If you are trying out a new robot that sorts boxes by itself, you test it in a busy Canadian center, not in an empty U.S. one. So, Canadian engineers will solve the next big problems in shipping, Canadian schools will get money for that research, and Canadian new companies will make tools that work with Amazon. We in the U.S. will still buy the new stuff, but we will lose the big rewards, the patents, the know-how, the high-paying tech jobs all moving across the border. Just see. You can see this change in real estate in both cities. In Seattle, office owners watch empty buildings with worry, spaces built for Amazon workers and helpers sit empty, and apartment buildings that counted on endless growth now offer deals like free months or no deposits to find renters. The fast-growing city hears the sound of air leaking out. In Vancouver, it is the opposite. Industrial spaces are full. Rents are going up. Cranes fill the sky, the sign that money is busy building. The city feels the exciting, busy boom Seattle had 10 years ago. And it is not just Vancouver. Other Canadian cities are racing to get their share. Winnipeg says it is the door to the American Midwest. Halifax talks about its big port for Europe, and every area sees the chance. When Amazon picks Canada, other companies follow, and the benefits grow bigger. Workers in these new places are not just getting paychecks, they are gaining skills and experience. In 10 years, when some start their own companies, they will remember where they learned, they will hire nearby, they will spend money locally. That is how strong business areas grow, not from one big rule, but from thousands of small, smart choices all going the same way. Jasan. In the U.S., Workers get empty promises instead. They are told to wait, to trust the trade fight will win, that the dark time will lead to light. But waiting does not pay bills. It does not buy food. It does not stop the bank from taking the house. The hardest part is that none of this had to happen. Amazon did not want to move. The company spent billions building here. It has deep roots in the US. Moving is costly, messy, and risky, but staying became riskier. When you make a place where companies cannot guess tomorrow's rules, where leaders treat big employers like targets for TV arguments, and where taxes become weapons for personal fights, you push companies to leave even when they would rather stay. Once they build new buildings and set up in another country, they do not come back just because the politics change in Washington. Local U.S. leaders are starting to worry. You see it in rushed meetings and special town talks where they offer new deals and beg Amazon to stay or grow. Please do not go, but they are asking from a weak spot now. Amazon knows it has choices. Jasan, when you bargain from weakness, you give up things you cannot afford to lose. Canada is not giving things up, they are investing. That is different. Giving up comes from fear. Investing comes from believing it will grow. Mark Carney is betting that if Canada builds the smoothest, fastest logistics system in North America, companies will come, and the bet is winning. But we should also be honest about Canada's risks. By linking so much to Amazon and other big U.S. companies, Canada is creating its own dependencies. If Amazon finds a better deal in Mexico or Vietnam in 10 years, Canada could face the same problem the U.S. faces now. The difference is that Canadian leaders seem to understand the danger. They are not just chasing one company, they are building a strong mix of businesses that can survive if one leaves. They play for the long term. American leaders, on the other hand, seem to think our top position is automatic forever, that companies will always come back because the U.S. is too big to lose, but history is full of powerful places that thought they were special right until others passed them. Jasi.